911 emergency, operator 915.
Hi, on the corner of Arlington and Washington, there's people jumping out of the car, banging on the car door of another car, people trying to fight with them, stopping all the traffic.
What you just heard is a 911 radio call that was received by a police service representative, also known as PSRs. I'm sitting here right now with Marsha Myers, PSR 3, as well as Francisco Duarte, PSR 2. Marsha Myers has 25 years of service with the department, as well as Francisco Duarte has 5+ years with the department. I've got a couple questions for you guys. Can you guys tell me a little bit of your responsibilities?
A few of the responsibilities we have, we answer 911 phone calls, we also answer non-emergency phone calls, and we also answer text messages. So recently we just started receiving text messages, and those will come in as either emergency or non-emergency. And then from there we'll determine whether we will have them call our non-emergency number, if they're available to make a call, or we'll handle it right then and there, because some people, we have our slogan, which is call if you can, text if you can't. So in emergency, if you need to text us, we'll go ahead and handle that.
Okay. Do you guys often receive text emergency calls?
I believe it's a very small percentage of our overall call load.
Okay.
But that small percentage, it could be, something that's life-threatening that is now available to the public that they would not have been able to do before, just based off of the situation that they're in.
In addition to receiving the 911 call or receiving calls for service, are there any other responsibilities that are needed or that are conducted by PSRs?
Yes, we also handle auxiliary type of requests. So if there's an officer in the field that requests a tow for a vehicle, wants to tow a vehicle, then there is an operator that handles those types of requests as well.
Okay. A little while ago, before we went on air, you told me about the ECO, I believe it is?
The DLC.
The DLC? What do you guys do with the DLC?
At the DLC we have, I'm not sure of the number, but we do have PSRs that are deployed there, and they monitor alarms, they're monitoring cameras that are placed throughout the city, so they are part of our Department Operations Center.
And the DLC stands for what?
Department Operations Center.
Okay. Ms. Marsha, can you walk me through the requirements for becoming a PSR?
Well, the specific requirements are listed on the website, lacity.org, under Police Service Representative. However, some of the things that are required are a typing speed of 35 words per minute. So if you're preparing, you may want to go ahead and get your typing skills up. Also, multitasking is really big, being able to do more than one thing at one time. Attention to detail, so the difference between FIRST, let's say F-I-R-S-T, and FIRTH, F-I-R-T-H, really important. So attention to detail is very important. But make sure you go on the website and look for the specific requirements.
Well, Francisco, since you recently came and you're the person who recently went through the process, what were some of the things that were required for you to being hired?
Sure. So I actually went on the website right before the interview today, and it's going to be 32 net words per minute. It has to be a certificate issued by an accredited school or an agency, and it has to be within 12 months. You need to have a qualifying score on the PSR written test, which you'll be notified of that after you've applied. And then a candidate may not be eligible for appointment if their record within the last 36 months reflects 3 or more moving violations and or at-fault accidents, or a conviction of a major violation such as a DUI.
So you're saying that prior to even being hired onto the job, you had to be certified with a certain typing speed?
Correct. So I went to local adult school by my house. They offer this certification. All you do is go on to some software program that they use to see how fast it is that you type, and then once you've completed the test, they go ahead and give you a certificate that says you typed X amount of words per minute.
How difficult was that to do?
Super easy. Wasn't prepared for it, and I was somewhere around 40 plus words per minute.
Okay.
But I do know people who I got hired on with that aren't really good typers, and what I suggested that they do is just open up their laptop, either put on the radio or the TV, and just start typing everything that you hear. Try to keep up with the traffic. If you can do that, you're going to do great.
Okay. Ms. Marshall, what type of training is actually involved with when you're training a brand new PSR?
So when you first come in, every candidate or new hire will go through our Peace Officer Standard Training 120-hour certified course for dispatchers. And so that's 120 hours of a basic introduction and knowledge and kind of welcome to dispatching. And then after that, you go into our radio telephone operator school, and you'll be training there. This is all in the classroom. And then after that period of time, you will go to the dispatch floor, sit with a one-on-one instructor. And if you qualify in that phase, meaning you hit the performance standards within the required amount of time, then you will go back to EBO school, which is Emergency Board Operator School, which is more commonly known as 911.
How long is the classroom training portion of it?
So for post, that's going to be 4 weeks for those 120 hours that Marshall was talking about. After post, you go directly into RTO school. RTO is 9 weeks of training. After the training, you have 19 weeks to qualify. That's when you go on to the dispatch floor and work one-on-one with an instructor, and within those 19 weeks, meet said requirements. After that time period, you and the class that was hired will go back into EBO school, and EBO and ATO are taught together. EBO again is emergency board operator, ATO is auxiliary telephone operator. So just a quick description, ATO would be where we would call on the tow requests or street services and stuff of that nature for the police officers on the field. Now for EBO, you have 5 weeks of training with the training unit, the communications division training unit, and then right after, you have 8 weeks that you're back on the floor one-on-one with an instructor to qualify and meet those requirements. Now, it's a total of 18 months of training. Once you're fully qualified, you have another 6 months, and you have that completed or combined total of 2 years, and then you're off probation and you're a vetted PSR. And at that point, you've moved from a PSR 1 to a PSR 2.
So you're saying the probation from the day that you're hired to you're off probation is approximately 2 years?
It is 2 years.
Man, that seems like a lot of work to do.
Definitely is.
What drives you to continue doing it versus just saying, hey, enough's enough, I'm tired of this?
I actually really enjoyed it. I find personally to enjoy RTO a little bit more. I feel like I'm offering a great service to the police officers on the field. Although I'm not saying I don't offer a great service to the public, answering 911 phone calls. I just enjoy talking back and forth with the officers, providing them with the assistance that they need. I always enjoy a good pursuit, making sure that, hey, this streets are coming up. I would make sure I'm watching my map to verify, all right, he said he's on this street and this street. Those don't cross. Let me get a better location from the officer just to make sure I know where my guys are at and we're giving them the best, that we can do from our end.
And Ms. Marshall, 25 years, what's kept you in the game for so long?
I also really enjoy the job as well. And so, officer safety, number one, public safety is right there. So after 25 years, I much prefer to talk on the phone. I can work the radio, no problem, but I do like to speak to people on the phone because I think that if we conduct a thorough interview, we have a big impact on incident outcomes. Huge.
When you say answer the phones, what do you mean?
Taking 911 calls or either those non-emergency calls that Francisco mentioned earlier.
So just to piggyback, that's our EBO phase versus the RTO phase. I like the RTO, Marshall likes the EBO.
And let me just add that a lot of people, when they think of police service representative, they think it's just the 911 operator. And so you're not just answering calls, you're also dispatching the calls that the EBO takes to the police officers, making sure their statuses are kept up. If they stop a car, all of that has to be entered into the computer system. So it's not just taking calls. I think that's the biggest misconception that people have.
Okay. So the RTO, you're pretty much talking to the officers and disseminating the information from the 911 operator or PSR, and you're giving the information to the officers with the pertinent information for the calls.
Correct. I do find that more often than not, people don't understand that a PSR not only takes the 911 calls, but we're there from the beginning to the end. We answer the call, we create the call. If it's a code 3 call, we also dispatch it to the officer. If it's not a code 3 call, we'll broadcast it, and then the RTO at that point will dispatch it to the officer and control their board at that point.
How do you guys make the determination on what's an emergency call and what's a non-emergency call?
It's very clearly defined. So life threatening or a threat to public safety is a code 3, or lights and sirens would probably be a better description of that code. Code 2 would be urgent but not necessarily life threatening. And our non-emergency calls are more quality of life, I would say, issues where it does not require an emergent or urgent response, but we still dispatch the police resource.
Who are some of the other entities that you guys work with besides PD?
So the fire department, Los Angeles Fire Department, sometimes if the call is outside of the parameters of Los Angeles City, we'll have to kind of liaison with LA County Fire, the Sheriff's Department, Santa Monica. So all of the cities that border Los Angeles, all of their police departments we're in contact with. Department of Transportation, which handles all parking requests or parking violations. Animal regulations, which handle animal calls. So there's a myriad of city entities that we interface with depending on what the need is.
Now, Francisco, you made reference towards a map. Is there a map that's located in front of you, or most of the locations do you have committed to memory?
So we have 6 computer monitors in front of us, and one of those monitors is dedicated to a map, and that's a map of LA City, and from there we can break it down by division and even search cross streets if not a direct address. And at that point we can go ahead, zoom out, zoom in, and keep track of where our officers are.
Now, what is it you guys do to handle stressful situations? Like, let's say an officer needs help call. How is it that you're able to stay cool and able to get the information out there without taking it personal?
So our training unit does a great job of letting us know, or teaching us from right at the get-go, we are there to make sure the officers' jobs are easier. We're not there to stress them out, we're not there to freak them out. So we try to remain monotone during an emergency, give them the information and resources that they're requesting, or maybe that they're not requesting, but we know based off of previous incidents they're going to need, such as a supervisor, such as, Code Sam, Code Tom. Make sure we have everything and anything that they may need once the officer arrives on scene. So we just try to keep a good demeanor, and then once the situation is done, if for any reason you feel that you need a break, we'll go ahead and notify a supervisor. A supervisor will get us relieved from our position, so that, say it was something of a major incident and you needed to just debrief or de-stress. You have the option to call BSS if you feel like you need to phone somebody. You can just take a minute to maybe take a little walk and decompress, and then come back and work the board whenever you're ready.
Are there any physical requirements for the position?
Not stated, I don't think, just,
okay.
have to be able to type.
Being able-bodied and not having any restrictions is probably as far as it would go.
Okay. Let's say that if someone, we live in a society where we have people that are physically challenged. Say if someone is in a wheelchair, but they're still able to type, they're still able to speak on the radio, they're still able to handle radio calls. All the movements of the hand, there's no problem with that. Could they still apply?
Of course, yeah. We had a 30-year veteran that just retired, and he actually still comes back and works part-time for us, and he is in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And completely fabulous. He's amazing.
Okay. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add that maybe it is that we didn't discuss or we didn't cover?
I think sometimes just be ready, if you were going to embark on this career, to be flexible with your time. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not like working at Walmart or Target or whatever. You are going to work all shifts. We have 2 different centers, one located in the downtown area, and then also out in the Valley area, which is kind of on the border of Ventura County. So you have to be flexible, and you have to be able to work all shifts.
Well, I thank you guys for taking the time to come and speak with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you again for giving us this opportunity.
All right, we'll get a police unit out there immediately. I'm operator 915.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.